What? Is it bad if one entails a letter?
And then negative 1 and 1, 6 and negative 2, and 3 and 5. Now you are looking for something where all 3 and 6, where all 6 of those numbers is multiplied by 3 because the triangle is dilated to a square factor of 3. Are all of these 6 numbers
Okay, then I did do it.
are all of these numbers multiplied by 3? Compared to that.
I was soldering.
3 and 3, 8 and 6.
And I kind of stored in some blood. Good for you. What?
How about 3 and 3, 8 and 6?
No way. I'm going to go sort some more letters. Oh,
Where are your negatives? The first
I actually inhaled some light.
How about negative 3 and 3?
Yeah.
Or the negative 3, the first one and the fourth one? Negative 1, negative 2, yeah. A is the answer. But the reason that you have to know. If they give those all over the room, they show the negatives of the same ones that work. We won't do 9 to 11 until we're in our class. And then you'll have your book and you can, if they start with figures. Thank you guys. You're done. Maybe.
What's tomorrow? What's tomorrow?
What?
Special powers.
Maybe you can try
Four percent. No, that's why I have. I want to use my own though.
Is it bad to inhale like
Give me my charger.
No.
Give me my charger. Charger.
Okay, just plug it. Okay, plug it into this thing.
Rednecks.
Yeah.
Hola, pariente.
Hola.
What is Miss Warlock doing here?
Miss what?
Warlock.
Who's Warlock?
No.
She's not here.
What? Hello.
Oh, it's Daniel. What you remember?
Oh.
Daniel.
Jeez, I thought that was Melody.
Freaking troublemaker.
I thought that was Melody.
Oh, you always think everyone's Melody. Well, guess what, Tony? I'm recording.
How?
Yeah.
I work for
What
Kaiser
you gonna tell me
Permanente.
about it? What were we gonna say earlier?
Huh?
You said something earlier about recording. What was it?
I was gonna send you the clip that I'm gonna record. I know it's white and black and white. It's because I'm recording it in my pocket.
Oh, I don't like that because it's
I don't care.
okay, I'm not gonna accept that recording.
Why not?
So, because it's in the pocket.
Just accept it.
It's like,
Actually, not really. Remember that video that I sent you?
yeah, that was a muffled at all.
It was recorded in my
Brain
pocket.
transplant is impossible.
Because my friend.
You mean like this pocket right here?
Huh?
You mean like kind of like this pocket?
I need to get better.
Which one?
This one that my phone's in.
No, a pocket in your pants, in my sweater. Let's go.
This way.
He's working. Change the grade. Tell him anything. Izzy, what are you read through? Are you read through chapter 7? Good. Are you read through chapter 7? Good. They get there because I don't have patience. It's not my fault if you've been out. That's unfortunate. You got to get caught up. All right. We will finish this book. I'll get the roll. I know I already got it. We'll finish it. Enough back there. Get out. Some of you owe me a quiz. You're going to get on that shortly. I'm sorry you were out, but we read the chapter in class, and some of you were here for that. We had a quiz the next day on Friday. 2 of you are going to be attempting that shortly. The third will also. So, I'm going to give those back to you today. They're graded, done. I got them all done Friday night. They're done. They're coming back to you in just a few moments. Corrections, if you so choose to do them, are due tomorrow. Beginning of class. That's up to you. What I gathered from most of them, most of the weak spots were things that some of you still haven't learned. And no matter how much I drill it into you, it's not sinking in. Commentary is incredibly important. Some of you basically went answer, quote, oh, I'm just done. There went 3 points right off the top before I went any further. The other mistakes that I can't get into, or that I can get into, that I don't want to get too much away, is just not finishing it. That was a timed writing. Welcome to high school. A lot of the high school tests are exactly that, where you have to do a lot of writing in one period of time, and it's due by the end of class, finished or not. Some of you unfortunately found that out the hard way, where you didn't use your time well, where your first 3 answers were rock solid, but then you ran out of time for 4 and 5. Look at the time you have. You had 50 minutes. Then look at the questions. Make a judgment call. Which ones are going to demand more of your time, and measure your time appropriately. You have to do that, because they're only going to get harder in high school. So you're going to have a lot of those in the second half to get you ready for high school. I know a lot of you wish everything was multiple choice, but life's not multiple choice. You actually have to think for yourselves on these. You have to think for yourselves on those. All right. If you have not already done so, get your book out. Those of you that are with us, page 115. You done, Raul? Good. Done? All right, I'll get those off you and grade them. Just turn them over, set them to the side. Make sure your name's on them. While we're reading, I've got the key on that memorized. I can grade those really quick. All right. So this is our final chapter. It's going to be bittersweet. And what I mean by that is it's going to feel good. There is going to be a tinge of sadness.
Question, answers.
Fail. Anybody else that was absent? Make it up. Anybody else absent Friday? I know. I said anybody else. Anybody else absent Friday to make this up? All right. Now, if you're taking the quiz tomorrow, make sure you are ready for that. You ask your classmates, that was probably one of the hardest quizzes they had all year. All right, I'll get those back towards the end, but those are the major mistakes. Just use your time well. You're going to see a lot of those. When I give them back, corrections will be the next day. And that's that. Any other questions on that? Then I can move on. All right. So, we can draw conclusions, class. Can I get a couple of hand raises to wake you up? Where are we going? Good. Nice try. Nope, still one more stop. Luis?
Maine.
Maine would be correct. Maine would be correct. Maine is our last stop. Now, let me get you guys in a discussion here. And try to keep the voices low. There are people taking that quiz, and you guys remember how hard that quiz was. Be respectful of that. So I'm not saying you got to whisper, but no talking over each other. So I ask you this question. You're going to want to flip back to page 24 for this. Here comes the question. What was the whirligig? What did Stephanie and Alexander find there? Note the details about where the whirligig was, because that's where it will be today. So what was it? How can you describe it? Page 24 in your groups. Answer. You need as many details as you can about the whirligig there. Go ahead.
What was the question?
So the final project.
Where's the whirligig?
What did it look like?
Looked like a whale.
So good. Good. Said you don't have to be absolutely quiet. What was it? What details can you find? What did it look like? Daniel, get on the quiz or I'm just going to pull and give you 0. You're not even turning working on it, dude. Somebody turn around in your desk. Go ahead and get started, please. What you got described, what can you tell me about where it was? Can you tell me about where it was? This was the reason I want to go over this was a long time ago. So, let's bring it back around. What did it look like? Not giving me all the details. Give me some. What did it look like? Give me one detail, wasn't it? Did your hand up? Give me a detail about it. It had chimes. What else? And a woman's head at the top. That's probably the only human feature about it. What else? This one was the hardest. Andrew. No? No whale spout. That was San Diego. Oh.
Did it have wheels?
It had some kind of wheels about it. Huh? It had hair. That's we had like a human-shaped head. But yep, it had his name on it. There's only one. Got it. Shells and chimes are there. What happened when the wind hit it? When the wind blew, what did it do? This is really wild stuff, Alexander. What did it do once the wind hit it? You don't need every detail. What did it do though? What did it sound like? All right, Tony. More just that. They described it. Good start. Zachary.
As if a flock of exotic birds taking flight.
Yep. So there are a lot of, it sounds like bird calls and such. How about what did you see when it started spinning? When it started turning? What did you, describe it. What did you see when it started turning? Colette. Shimmering. Okay. So a light's being shown up. Now, you guys know a little bit from your science. What's other than having some battery-powered flashlight there, how would you show light? Shimmering. How would you do that? Draw conclusions, class. There's a couple of different ways to show light. How? How would it do that? Without a battery source. How would it do that? How would it show light? One detail. Give it a try. Go ahead. Huh? Mirrors? What do mirrors do? They reflect light. What else? On some type of reflective surface. So, you see those. In fact, some of you have them today. Some of you. Where else would you see reflective surfaces? This is actually an easy answer.
Glasses?
No, not glasses. Easier than that. Huh? No, not on you physically. No, not on you physically. Not physically on you. This is only some of you. No, easier than metal. There is metal in there. What would reflect? It's easier than you think. Joshua. Not a car. No, we already got mirrors. This is easier than you think. This doesn't apply to all of you.
Is your phone?
No. I just said it's not about you on your person. It's something you might have brought, some of you brought with you today. Not in class. Where would you see something that reflects? No, you already answered phones. Nothing about you on your person. Not on you. But it is something you brought with you. No, it's not on your person. It's not on you physically right now.
Yourself?
No, I just answered. It's not on you yourself. Easier than that, guys. Some of them are stored right over there. That reflect. That reflect. Come on. Go ahead. Yeah. What do all bicycles sold have? Every single bicycle. They come with them. What do they all come with? No, come on. Reflecting. No, come on, man. Good. Thank you for repeating the same answer. Next time, listen. You guys are killing me. You need to work on your quiz. You really need to work on that. You need to turn around facing there and work on your quiz. Yeah. Yeah, reflectors. It's on the tires. It's on the front. It's on the back. They reflect light. So, reflectors on there. And then the last thing you can come up with that's really gets into science that you learned some of this year, but light, sunlight, artificial light can be split. Some of you have that very object hanging from ceiling fans. Anybody know what I'm talking about here?
A prism?
A prism. A shiny little crystal-like thing that oftentimes hangs from ceiling fans and such. When the light hits it, what shows on the walls?
Rainbow.
Rainbow. It splits the light. It splits light, causing a rainbow effect. So that's how a rainbow actually happens. Rainwater is being split by the light going through a rainwater, splits the light going into it, comes out as a rainbow. It's the angle of the sun. That's why they're bell-shaped. I'm sorry, curved, because it's the sun. Yeah. I bring this up to you today because we're going to get into the story shortly. But you need to know this stuff because you need to find out how he's going to build this stuff. We're going to get into that. Because this is the most mysterious one of all. Every other one is kind of easy to pick out. This one is different. And this particular one, if you're labeling on the hero's journey, is where Brent has to slay the dragon, so to speak. This is the part where he has to face the enemy. Everything was built up to this. This final one, which is fitting because the book puts it right at the beginning of chapter 2. But this particular journey is what Brent slays the dragon. Where, if you look on the hero's journey, this particular stage, it's right here. All right, new reader for a new week. I'll start us off and just take it from there. You guys have read in a while. Come on, this is high school. It's written in high schoolese. That's why there's some grammar on there that's not quite correct. Do I have a reader? Thank you, Andrew. I'll start us off. If you're not there, 115, please. I'll start us off. Finally finished. This chapter you will enjoy, but if you know about where that word was placed, there's a reason why we go over to class. Like we can discuss the surroundings of wherever's there. It's going to be kind of sad. Everybody swing. Though his last name was Bishop, Brent felt like a rook riding north on I-95, making another end-to-end chess move along the country's perimeter. Where was he last, class? What state? Call it. Florida. By the way, today you'll figure out what city was that Florida, wherever it is, actually near. He only says it one time in the whole book. Where it was near. He traversed the Alligator, Plantation Tour, and Robert E. Lee belts. Then tried to sleep through Washington, Baltimore, Wilmington, that's Delaware, Philadelphia, and Newark, that's New Jersey. The steaming streets and long skeins of graffiti magnifying his journey from Maine. He transferred to New York at the Port Authority, the one place his father had urged him to avoid, and managed to hold on to his wallet and his life. Much like Miami, New York was going through a big crime uptick during those days. So his father told him, "You think BART can be rough? Try the New York Metro." And yet there was Brent. And it says, and managed to hold on to his wallet and his life. The bus rolled past the exit from Milford, Connecticut, where he'd lived for 2 years. He looked out but didn't recognize anything. Then forgot to get off in New Haven and call his grandmother, as he promised he would. He changed buses again in Boston, where he had an aunt and uncle and cousins, none of whom he desired to see. They were his past. The bus crossed a bridge, high and arched like a silver rainbow. That bridge actually does exist. I'm not going to get into it though. A sign welcomed him to Maine. Brent stared out. This was his present. He stepped off into it in Portland. There's a Portland, Maine as well, not just Oregon. Go ahead, Andrew. It's 5 o'clock p.m.
It's 5 p.m. He showed Thomas Street and found his way to the breakfast. At first he never did. He was trying to like it, but found it too similar to the small dinner for the streets. His overly sociable, consistent review of about the ship with great interest in trying to begin to converse with him. other guests come. The simplest questions force them to survive. Prefer the less demanding social life of clubs and restaurants and clubs. We have rather been out in the country and flocking forward to we decided to move on to try to write a film yesterday. Take the low work and camp out on the day and
Sounds like a name familiar, doesn't it? Weeksboro. I think we've heard that somewhere, right? Go ahead, Andrew. A little bit further.
A series of songs headed towards camp, taking me past a small grocery where he stopped to replenish his food. He came to the town hall in the middle of the field and stopped for a coffee. His sleeves shaking and shimmering with answers to the wall walls. Nearby stood a statue of the Civil War. Ben approached as if he was sudden and found himself sitting to the wrist of Weeksboro's falling passive.
Palpable, meaning you can kind of feel it, because it's a very old place. Go ahead.
Spirit, feeling as even in equal to cemetery and found a slave headstone dated 1798. People he was had that done in the past. Many beers were on the children. Pushing on, he passed between two white churches, staring at each other across the street, then turned left on Colton Road and passed on down. These powerless campground. Those privately held back to the obvious side, continuing parade and take time.
There you go, and I'll read. Anybody catch that name, Bolton? Some people may have heard that before. I was the same road, Stephanie and Alexander. All right. There's some comedy here, I'll read it. Welcome. Glad you found us. Cliff and Vera. Free firewood, showers, and ping pong. Also free fog, rain, and mosquitoes. Park at any unoccupied site, then check in at the office. Office hours, from whenever we feel like it till whenever we don't. How many want to work at this place? Raise a hand. They all work at this place, from whenever we feel like it till whenever we don't. This must be nice. So, Maine is much like San Francisco, except magnified. Always fog. It gets worse though. The fog is just the bringer of something worse. Unlike San Francisco, where the fog lifts, it doesn't here. Lots of rain almost year round. And when it's not raining, it's snowy. Beautiful countryside. Pretty rough weather though. Breeding grounds for mosquitoes all over there. He looked at the Prussian blue sea when he walked, half surprised it wasn't labeled with a sign. Striking out down a path to the water, he surveyed a sandy cove, then returned and passed through a grassy camping area with many free spots. No privacy. Why does he need privacy, class? Why does he need privacy? You haven't caught it yet. It should be obvious. Why does he always want privacy? He does. Why? Why does he need privacy? Why does he want to come behind? It should be obvious now. I didn't want to ask this earlier. That all did anonymous. If you remember back in Apprentices, the kids come up and he said, "You're like the only one that knows I do these." They're asking, "Are you famous?" "No, you're the only one who knows I do these." Always anonymous. That's why nobody ever knows who put these there. He continued on and found a site more to his liking among the trees, with a table, a barbecue, and seclusion. He could see none of the other campers. There would be no need to hide his work, physical and psychological luxury. He pried off his pack, dug out his tent, and strung his rope between a tree and a table leg. A tube of orange plastic hung on this, becoming triangular when he climbed inside and unrolled his sleeping bag. He lay down, listening to the wind and the waves. Strange, he thought, that he'd kept to the coasts. Leah's mother hadn't required this. Was it because he'd come from Chicago, near the center of the country? He'd certainly fled as far as he could, turning his gaze away, out to sea. Each of his 4 vantages, meaning viewpoints, had been different. Meaning the 4 places he went to, they were all different. He inhaled the air, delightfully cool and sharp-tipped with evergreen scent. "I'm in Maine," he said aloud, and confirmed this astounding fact by naming in order every city he could remember on the 4 bus trips that brought him there. His geographical genesis. Genesis is the story of creation. Basically, his 4 trips across the country were his genesis, his birth, that second life. He walked to the office to check in. It was empty. The date, times, and weather report had been written on a chalkboard. Past issues of the Portland Press Herald lay on a table next to a sign reading, "Please place most recent on top." Brent began to wonder if the Howlett's small universe was entirely self-service. See over there. What's he seeing a whole lot of? Go ahead, call it out. What's he seeing a whole lot of there? Huh? Just call it out. Signs and not a whole lot of what? Yeah, where are the Howlett's? The people that run the campground. Like, is this whole thing just self-service, just signs everywhere? He opened a paper to check the weather page, studied the national map, then checked the details for Seattle, San Diego, and Tampa. Where's Tampa? Florida. That will be the only time it's mentioned where that weather page is actually near. You know Beale Beach. Now you know the major city it's close to. Tampa. It's the only time it's mentioned. He pictured his whirligigs in their respective weathers. He almost felt he could look out through them and see people passing and birds overhead. He moved on to other distant scenes. Postcards sent by previous campers. They were tacked to a corkboard, overlapping like shingles, many with their messages facing out. He read them all, sampling other lives, hoping for a hint on where to point his own. Nearby was a shelf marked, "Book Exchange." Another sign. Another camera obscura, offering views of the campers' lives. So a camera obscura, maybe another viewpoint into the people, because a book exchange, you guys have those. I think there's a couple of the free book exchanges, like hanging outside. You can leave a book, take a book. Everyone's like, yeah, there's one in the campground here. Getting organized, all for love, the best of Charlie Brown. Code name, Attila. Who doesn't want Charlie Brown? He was leafing through the ladder when a white-bearded man in overalls strode in. "Put one in. You can take one out. Anything else I can do for you?" "People, yay." Finally met one of the Howletts. Brent savored his strong Maine accent. "I just came to check in. I'm in number 18. Back among the spruces." Brent thought they were pines. He made a note of this. "That's a real good site for building your wrist muscles." Brent was baffled. "From slapping mosquitoes." The man opened his registration book. "That table there in 18 is new. The old one had more names on it than the Constitution. Went to the dump and found half a dozen perfectly good 2x8s. Draw conclusions, class. What are 2x8s? Got it.
Wooden planks.
Yeah, wooden planks. Instead of 2x4s, they're 2x8s. So it's 2 inches by 8. Just needed a few rusty nails pulled out. The Lord doth provide, and the dump's where he does it. Most folks don't realize that. Fred signed in. The man glanced around. "I built half my house and all of this office from what I picked up there, right down to the doorknobs." Brent looked, but could find no sign of the room's Frankenstein-like origins. "Helps keep the price down. $10 a day. How long will you be staying with us?" 3 or 4 days. "All summer, you mean?" Brent stared. The man gave no sign of jesting. He wasn't joking. "No, just a couple of days." In Maine. Wow. A couple of days in July is summer. Beginning to end. That is true. Maine gets hot for about a week and a half, 2 weeks a year, and the rest goes right back to the rain, right back to the snow, back to the rain, and then a couple of nice weeks, and then do it again. All right, take it from there. Tide was out. Oh, I'm sorry, I did. Brent ambled back.
Brent ambled back to his camp. Noticed the table fresh foot of Brent and not to be careful with his field at all. He felt anxious to start. He made a sandwich, decided to fix his next project while he ate, and couldn't find the road. 3 times he checked all his packs and compartments. He conveniently in his apartment. He realized that he must have left that place. He pictured it traveling on the bounty, listening to Canada perhaps, inspiring something to go to King of Road or Prince. He ate. Without the book, he felt abandoned. Searching for it, he found he was very low in hardware, as well as wood. The Blue Jay perched nearby. Marcus lay cannon. He threw it to the bed, thinking the fairy tales in which generous deeds are rewarded. No mountain was possible, but in his mind there was materialized the notion of the value of all his life. His plan found in no button in his remaining scraps and whatever he would keep established as a campground owner. Surely there would be one on the beach. He emptied his pack, smell as he used it, as a beer and lunch for the back. The tide was up. It's where it's found left hand. He picked up shells, fishing money to let it go, but little use of the water. The air was brisk. 2 kayakers passed. He followed them enviously with his eyes and scouted the islands of horizon. Coming to the end of the boat, landed up on some great flying bearing and crossed them until he reached the beach. Here he gleefully picked through a long garden trip. He salvaged what he could from the old box tower. He discovered a pair of staring colors, and was so intent on looking down that he didn't realize he wouldn't see against the water. Almost shook it.
That's good there. So, what's the conflict there? What's the problem? Quick, Henry. What happened? Uh-oh. What was our uh-oh moment? That increased the conflict here. The tension. The problem. What is it? Allison. Ah. So now what are you going to do? And now it's starting to come into focus. Why this one looks different than any others. The others were designs out of a book. This one. All right. Next up.
Allison.
Sorry, Lisa. When you decided she had a large toy set and you was painting a craft shop beside her. That's great, he added. Thanks. She brushed aside a long strand of gray hair and smiled up at him. I'm not so sure it had the properness. What do you think? What's next? I asked. She cleaned her brush. Well, in the case of a craft shell, there would be roughness to the touch. Lightness, colors. Dark, bent down and dark. Definitely. You think so? I'm glad. She glanced at me. You think? Not really. It's a bit, sort of. She thought of his recent efforts, oversized eyes, looked me down the wood, and watched me wonder as she somehow dried the crowd's colors together. They stood up artist? Me too. She was small and tan, dressed in jeans and moth blue sweater. Fred thought of her like a perfectly beautiful hair and wondered about his mother's daggers. And I was your age. I honestly dreamed of painting world's famous masterpieces. She makes a pale orange. Now I just painted. She did some silence, then turned towards Brent. This morning we played some on the radio, composed in 1681. Didn't you find it amazing that we still listen to it, whole centuries later? Brent wondered how long his melody would last. I guess so. Amazing and rare. The garden swallowed up most of us. She swallowed her brush in the dark water. Shepard would know we would still play. She just explored the house, tall and white, and large as a white house, out on a point. I very nearly walked on something called Hello
Arcangelo Corelli. Arcangelo.
As long as I cut across the water. Is that crazy? Have you ever wanted to do that?
That's good, you survived. So I was just talking about some 1681 composing. Music from a long time ago that has survived. And she says, darkness swallows up most of us. These are the things that survived. He liked the way she spoke to him as to an adult. She wasn't talking to him like he was a kid. I wouldn't call it crazy. He noticed that tied to her belt loops were short strips of fabric. What are those for? Just for color, she said. Why not? It's so dreary so much of the year. Remember I told you about the weather? She looked up. What sort of art do you do? I make whirligigs. The words had come out without his permission. He wanted them back, then decided they were safe with her. Why is he so worried? Why did he want those back? What just happened, really, for the first time ever, class? In a way, yeah. That's the first time he's ever admitted really that to anybody. Really? How unusual and how wonderful. She studied him, grinning, her green eyes bright. Perhaps you'll become their Arcangelo Corelli. She smiled in return and sat on the sand. They talked for an hour, watching the gulls drop shells on the rocks, crack them, and went their separate ways. That's how seagulls eat. They eat shellfish. How do you crack the shells? Scoop them up, drop them on the rocks, crack the shells. Clever birds. By the time Brent returned, his pack was as full as Santa Claus's sack. He laid his finds on the table and circled it. Ideas for whirligigs streamed through his mind like clouds in constant metamorphosis change. He scrutinized, weighed, and considered his ingredients while the sun dipped behind the trees. The mosquitoes emerged. He kept them at bay with a fire, then boiled water in his pot and dumped in half a bag of noodles. He poured off the water once they were done, sliced slivers of cheese on top with his knife, and felt himself a true French chef. Some humor there. Boiled noodles, slice of cheese on top, and feels like a French chef. Congrats, you just made your own mac and cheese. Way to go. When the sky overhead became black, he left the woods in search of the stars. The main camping area flickered with fires. 2 children were playing badminton by lantern light. Brent walked to the cove. He turned his head up and smiled, as if stepping into a party. The faces there were familiar. He missed them. What's he looking for? What were the familiar faces, folks? Go ahead and call it out. What were the familiar faces? You hadn't seen them in a while. Go ahead and call it out, please.
Children.
Not kids. No. What's the familiar faces? I just mentioned it earlier. What hadn't you had a chance to see in a while? Go ahead. The stars. He's going to look for the constellations. The past several nights had been cloudy. He noticed at once how much higher the Big and Little Dippers were. Riding north from Florida, he covered 20 degrees of latitude. Part of the tail of Scorpius was now hidden below the southern horizon. He wondered what new stars he'd gained to the north. He slipped the red cellophane over his flashlight, opened his book to circumpolar stars, and availed himself of his new view. So he saw more. All right, next up. Talking about birds. Go ahead.
That seemed to be chattering its congratulations at the moment finished the word. He completed his work over lunch. It was 3 times the size of the others he built. The pinwheels on the front spin and fashioned in sword hands stood default. Likewise, the different propellers, each from both noted sculptures, premium scraps, license plates, and lobster traps. On the blade of one 4-bladed model, he painted Leah's 4-part name. He considered the plywood rendition of the face. It was the most faithful of the 4 he made. For the first time, he even dressed like a smile. He insisted on 800 kilograms. The head was large, giving him room to breathe, sea glass and bright reflections in his hair. His skin glistened. Because it was May, he'd given the wood a coat of varnish. He drilled gold in shells and later a necklace beaded over her head, along with a set of shells he rescued with them. May summers like John Flores were brief. Darkness and winter predominated. Leah's life had been secretly short, but his active flashes distinguishing memorial would give off sound and color all year, holding back the tide of death. It was a kinetic gray zone, painted in ever-blooming rings of yellow and red. She avoided not be swallowed up. He wanted to announce it there and liked the idea that the first wind from the shore to the Pacific, Gulf, and Atlantic would turn with roses. He spent an hour hunting for a site that was far enough above high tide as well as safety and comfort. There wasn't any suitable trees available. He wondered if the town owner would let him sink a hole in the ground. Then he looked across the water to the south and had a better idea. The painter's house perched above the water in a treeless point, with no high tide or falling wind for him to lay it out.
Now, did anybody already make a connection between chapter 2 and now? Because you're going to forget it. I won't get into it yet. You may have already made a connection. Painter's house. The whirligig heavy, awkward to carry, and conspicuous in the extreme and stuck out. He ignored the stairs he drew in the campground, decided it would be easier to take the road, and was the cause of much braking and head swiveling. The day was hot, his arm muscles burned. He shifted the contraption onto his head just as a breeze flowed over him, setting it ringing and spinning. It was engaged with the wind as if by a gear. Now you know what it looks like. Making his way up a hill, he listened to his respiration, his own wind surging in and out, and felt at one with the whirligig. The breeze picked up as he neared the woman's house, increasing the clatter and motion overhead. He spotted her weeding and supposed he must look like a demented relative of the Wright brothers. Nervously, he waited her head turn. So now you know what it looks like. So I would definitely bookmark that last page. Now you know what it looks like and how he built it. Now, you know what it looks like, you know everything about it. He just basically, at that moment, this is the beginning of that, and this will be the end of that. This is where he slays the dragon. Built that whirligig. I was not everything prepared for that. And now everything prepared for what's about to happen next. Oh my! Was all she could say at first. He got to her feet, jeans damp at the knees. Her agile eyes took in his strange cargo, where it feasted on her smile of delight. It's wonderful, truly. She stroked the chimes. It makes me feel like a little child. And what painter in the Louvre wouldn't envy that power? Greg rested it on a metal chair and watched her roam it with her eyes. A gust set it, and the strips of bright fabric on her belt lips fluttered. He realized that they hadn't exchanged names. He liked the way she put important things first, and left trivialities for last. He was glad he'd come. It reminds me of those Tibetan flags that flap in the wind, sending out prayers. She flicked. That sounds familiar, right? Sending out prayers? Come on, you didn't put it together yet? Oh yeah. Stephanie and Alexandra thought this carried your thoughts in the wind. She flicked a propeller and admired the sea glass. It's a one-man band for the eyes. Bravo. Thanks. Brent cleared his throat. Actually, I was wondering if I could put it up here, if you wouldn't mind. You don't want to keep it? I can't. And I made it to be here in Maine, by the coast. He stopped before he said more than he wanted to. I'd be thrilled and honored. Her eyes sparkled. Where do you think it ought to go? They strolled her grounds and toured her garden, discussing sights and a dozen other topics. An hour later, Brent had removed a decrepit birdhouse from a metal pole and mounted the whirligig in its place. I promise you, no birds use that house, said the woman. And when it goes to the dump, it might just be what some sculptor needs. They were drinking lemonade on the porch, both of them facing the whirligig, and a long view up the coast. Cicadas droned in the sultry air. You're going to like the painter. She's straight to the point. She's not dumb. Watch. Now tell me, or don't, you have a perfect right not to. Is the woman someone real? And notice the name. Brent sipped. She was. He sipped again, then held the icy glass to his cheek, partially hiding his face. She died in a car accident in Chicago in May. The painter put her hand to her sternum. It's right here. Oh no! He was relieved they weren't facing each other. It was my fault. I'm the one who killed her. He listened to himself as if to a stranger. I'd been drinking, actually, at a party. The woman inhaled. I'm so sorry. She stopped. You must... I was actually trying to kill myself. I killed her instead, by accident. It just happened there for the first time ever. Go ahead. Yeah. Never told anybody that whole story. It's the first person ever told her. It was like falling down the basement stairs, unexpected and unstoppable. Brent felt dizzy, unsure of where he was. He knew he hadn't let out this last fact before. Not to his parents, or the police, or the psychologists. He felt empty inside, like a chicken in a store with its plastic bag of organs removed. He was glad the woman didn't know his name. He wanted to leave his confession, like his whirligigs, anonymously. It's hard to know what to say, the painter murmured. She set down her drink. They both stared out to sea. From our chats, you certainly don't strike me as a killer or suicidal. Just look at your artwork. The wind toyed with the chimes and turned the row of pinwheels into blurs. Only someone with a strong life force could possibly have created that. The cicadas pulsed and were silent. I'm sure you know that we all get depressed. Seriously, sometimes. Most of us probably think about throwing in the towel at some point. She paused. And God knows, we all make mistakes. All of the above, in my case. She looked at Brent. I could be wildly wrong, but my sense of you is that you're a good person, not a bad one. The words worked their way through Brent's brain. That he might, in fact, be like everyone else was a foreign idea, never considered. That he could have done what he'd done and still be good was even more startling notion. You remembered the note from the motel maid. No one is alone with Jesus. Jesus forgave you no matter what you'd done. But that was his business, and the priests and the ministers. They were professional forgivers. They said, it's okay, the same way your parents said they love you, whether they meant it or not. This, though, was different. Hearing himself forgiven freely by someone he trusted. He wasn't sure, though, that she knew enough to forgive him. He told her the story in detail. It didn't seem to change her mind. The sun lowered toward the hills. Brent declined the woman's offer of dinner. He felt talked out. Producing the camera, he took 4 pictures of the whirligig from various angles and distances, the last one with the painter beside it. They exchanged farewells. Now, we're going to stop. You have some real homework. Look. You guys are going to finish the story. That's it. I want to let you guys finish it. Now, did anybody put the sad, the sweet, bittersweet part of the story together? When Stephanie and Alexandra went there, what had changed? No one there. The house looked what, isn't it? They said, looked what? Abandoned. Does this look like someone that would abandon their house? How many of you instantly just got really sad?
That's tough.
Put it together? I know, right? It doesn't say it, but you can kind of figure it out. It's a great chapter. That part's bittersweet when it hits students like, aw. They never say when Stephanie and Alexandra went there. But the house is abandoned. You can figure it out. Finish the story. Start your final project tomorrow. Stay with students. Stay one time for everyone else. Stay with Yep, done. It's great. It's yours. Yours is correction. You got one more quiz to make up, and that's it. Yep. I said this is a good staple to it. Staple to it and turn it. At least it got sad really quick, didn't it?
Yeah.
I like the painter too. But it never says when. Susan, is your pen? We're literally just Are these the quiz answers? Are these the quiz answers? Yes. And I have yours, Louise, so I'll take care of it. All right, I'll go over. I'll get on that today. You gotta get going. I'm gonna like last minute. I gotta let him in this.
Does the Over here?
Huh? Online. You can get.
John, you gotta run 60.
Oh, no, yeah, you got to go this way.
Oh, great.
What?
It's raining.
I told you it was raining over here.
But why is it just only raining over here?
Wow, I recorded for 1 hour.
Oh, wait. You recorded the whole class?
Yes, I did. I recorded.
Oh my god.
What?
I stopped the recording in the whole class because I thought it would just be boring.
I recorded it.
The whole Whirligig book class.
Yeah.
Oh, then you gotta send me that now so I can include it with my video. So do it now because I'm recording right now. Say. Or do you want to upload it yourself? Which one do you want to do?
I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send it to you.
Well, just let me know.
Spicy cocaine?
Yeah. Oh wait, spicy cocaine. What are they eating?